You might notice something new behind me. We've been working on a little project for the chickens. It's something that's become more necessary than we expected. The chickens have been having a wonderful time exploring the garden, maybe a little too wonderful. This week they made it over to our side of the garden and absolutely demolished the brassicas. Every last sprout plant gone, and they even managed to get our first strawberry before we did. But it's not just about saving the vegetables. Here in Yorkshire we also need a fully covered run in case bird flu restrictions return. So this space will keep them safe and sheltered without shutting them away in the coop. It's taken a bit of work to get to this point, but once the run is finished, the chickens will have a secure space of their own, and hopefully my vegetables will survive the season. For now, we're starting with the frame. This is the part that sets the size, the shape, and everything that comes next. With a plan in place, we laid the sections out on the ground and began fixing the first bars together. It's not the most glamorous part, but it's the foundation for everything that comes next. We still had to level the ground outside the coop before we could go any further. The soil there was uneven and little weeds were starting to grow. This is what happens when you're building but your inner warrior takes over. Every build needs at least one ninja moment. I'm not sure if the chickens were impressed. Once the sides were in place, this was the first moment it actually felt like a structure. Suddenly you can see the shape of it, the height and the space the chickens will have. A strong start with quality craftsmanship. We used a garden tiller to break up and loosen the soil, enough to get an even base to work from. Structural integrity is optional, apparently. We're back at the coop door again. At this point, I think we've rebuilt it more times than the chickens have used it. This time we're cutting away some wood so the frame will fit. With the frame finally in place and a few extra pieces of wood added to hold everything steady, we could start fitting the first roof bars. This was the part where it really begins to feel solid. Once those top pieces go on, the whole structure starts to pull together. After working on the frame, we took a break in the garden. The pak choi has bolted, so I set the baskets down in the raised beds and began harvesting what I could before it goes completely. Bolted pak choi is still perfectly good to eat, and the flowers are actually delicious. They taste a little bit like a mild broccoli sprout, sweet and tender, so I'm picking those too. The stems are still crisp and the leaves are still soft. And the flowers, well, they're a little bonus I wasn't expecting. This is the part of gardening I really enjoy, using what we have. These plants had one mission in mind, and I've gently redirected them into dinner. Some of this is for us and some of this is for the chicks. They don't care what stage it's at. If it's green and crunchy, they're thrilled. Honestly, it feels nice to share it with them. Although I think this might have encouraged some of the chicken adventures. I'm turning this into a simple pak choi and ginger stir fry. Nothing fancy, just a bit of garlic, a thumb of ginger and a splash of soy. There's something really satisfying about cooking with food you've grown yourself. Even when it's a bit wild and a bit over-enthusiastic, or has decided to shoot up to the sky instead of staying neat and compact, it still feels like a small victory. A reminder that the garden gives what it gives and we just have to work with it. I love meals like this. Simple, quick, and made from whatever the garden is ready to offer. Some for us, some for the chicks, and nothing wasted. It's not perfect, but it's homegrown, and that always feels special. The bolted leaves cook beautifully, and the flowers add this beautiful pop of colour right at the end. The chicks are already enjoying the new run, even though it's very much work in progress. They don't mind the missing roof or the unfinished edges. To them, it's just one big adventure. With the base of the frame sorted, we could start on the top part. This is where we added the roof bars and tied the whole structure together so it's ready for panels and netting. We moved on to the roof joists. They slotted into each section so beautifully. It was one of those small moments where you can't help but feel a little bit pleased with how well it's coming together. Getting to the other side of the run was easy enough for the chickens. For my husband, it required a bit more shuffling. I was busy cutting the next piece of timber. Meanwhile, the chickens had found a much more comfortable way to spend the afternoon. Keeping an eye on the build must have been exhausting. She settled on my daughter's lap and drifted straight off. Once all the wood was cut, we got everything fixed into place, and then it was time to move on to the roof. We still haven't fully decided what we're doing with the roof, so at this stage it's only a temporary fix, just while we figure things out. Next we moved on to the door section, fixing 4 pieces of timber together to make a simple frame.
Have you seen this now? The chickens are favouring underneath the chicken coops.
When the rain arrived, the chickens didn't waste a second. They ran straight for cover. Honestly, adorable. They really don't like the rain. They do, however, love exploring. We fixed the door into place under very close supervision. It was getting late and we were both running out of steam, but we were so close to the end. By now the light was fading, but we were so close to finishing, so we kept going. It turned into a bit of a divide and conquer situation. Simon finished the stapling, podcast for company, while I headed inside to start tea and get the house ready for bed. Good night, chicks. I hope you like your new space. Now the run is finished, I could finally start resetting the garden after the chickens' grand tour. I tidied the salad leaves and cleared the brassicas, or what the chickens had kindly left behind. The plan for this bed was brassicas, but after the chicken adventure, now it's going to be beans. First I added a layer of compost. These beds were originally filled with twigs, leaves, half-finished compost and grass cuttings, so they'll settle a lot. I'll need to top them up before planting each time this year. I'm planting 2 rows of climbing French beans and 2 rows of dwarf French beans. I'll sow a few more in a couple of weeks for a later harvest. I do love a good plan B. I sowed a few more beans, taking my time. There's a reason this part feels so good. I read that having your hands in the soil can help release serotonin. It's such a small thing, but it really does shift your whole mood. Gardening has this way of giving you tiny pauses that you didn't know you needed. A few minutes where your hands are busy, your thoughts quieten, and the world feels a little bit softer. Once they were all in place, I gave the bed a really good water to wake the seeds up. I took a few minutes to tidy the paths, brushing the wood chip back into the pathways. The chickens had clearly had a great time out here. The scratching gives them away every time. They absolutely love wood chip. Now, the wood chip itself on the beds is harmless, but tidying it makes the garden feel settled again, like it can breathe properly. The chickens always mean well, but they do leave a trail behind them. It feels good to restore a little bit of order. I'm not sure if you can see, but this is the temporary fence, and the chicks have been determined to outsmart it from day one. They're so inquisitive, always looking for a new route, a new angle, a new loophole, and wherever I am, they're never far behind. I don't know if they're fascinated by what I'm doing, or if they simply learnt that my hands often mean treats, especially mealworms. These are the chives I sowed just a few weeks ago, and somehow they've already matched the size of last year's plants. Chives don't mess about. A bit of compost, a bit of rain, and suddenly they're ready to take over the bed, but in the best possible way. This frame started life as a chicken brooder, and now it's doing a brilliant job as a plant nursery. The mesh keeps the butterflies and therefore caterpillars out, which is half the battle at this time of year. And I'm already eyeing it up as a winter cold frame if I can find the right UV safe plastic. 2 uses down and a third on the way. Not bad for a bit of scrap wood and mesh. The chicks have really settled into their lives with us now. They seem huge compared to the tiny fluff balls that joined us in March. But every once in a while I see full-size hens, and I'm reminded that ours are just teenagers still. They've still got a lot of growing to do. We tried a new water setup with the chicks, and the reactions were priceless. A few chicks mastered it instantly, and the rest, well, let's just say they took the scenic route to understanding. Things feel a little more in order again. The run finished, the bed's tidied, the chicks finding their routines. A good day in its own quiet way. Evenings have their own rhythm now. The chicks gather themselves without any fuss, ready to settle in for the night. It's a small routine, but it brings such a sense of calm to the end of the day.